My name is Jonathan Slaughter. I've been going to Shepherd of the Hills since 2008, and I am married. My wife Amy, and we have one son, Ross Everett, cute little blonde kid that runs around here on occasion, and yeah, excited to be here today. So do you want like the ethereal, like before time itself sort of thing? Or do you want sort of the more like pragmatic, like specific, my journey a la, the latest version of Jonathan is probably 2005. So born in 77, so probably when I was about 27 or 28. That's a great question. So if I think about where I'm at on the journey, being in relationship, faith really is like a marriage in the sense of like, when I started on the journey, I think I knew about this much and I made a commitment. And then as I've grown, that's grown larger, but I've also like opened for every question I've answered, I've opened like 10 more doors. So I'm both farther along and further away than I was like 16 years ago. So it's an interesting exercise, for sure. So true story, I was in the room in the camp when they were talking about this the very first time. And Leon presented like, what do y'all think about love God, love everyone, or love God, love everybody? And I was thinking to myself, he has done lost his mind. We were out like 3 months into him being here. And so, I actually went home that night and I was like, what are we doing? And then I sat down and I thought about it the next day, and I had been rereading a book, Marcus Buckingham's like First Break All the Rules. I was just reading it for work, and I came across this really interesting quote in there from E.W. Howe that said, that no man would listen to you speak if he didn't know it was his turn next. And I have read that book a couple of other times, and it just like slammed into me, and I was like, all right, you arrogant, you know what? Maybe you should start listening a little bit more. And so I kind of made it that point to start actively listening, and this was kind of the first time that I did it. And so the love God, love everybody for me was, it meant like being less arrogant about what I knew and being more open to what other people thought. And it was that idea of like, where are you coming from? What's your perspective? Even if I don't agree, but going with like this open mind. It was really weird because I'm sitting there as like almost 40 years old and don't have an open mind. And so it was a very profound moment for me. And so it just kind of been that journey. So that part of that journey of saying, okay, I know a lot about a lot, but I don't know everything about everything. Let's start letting other people maybe help me fill in those gaps. And so that's really kind of what love God, love everybody has come to mean for me, is finding out where the gaps are in myself and working with others to help understand how God's calling those to be filled. So yeah, that's what it means for me. So Shepard's been like a safe space for like accepting this super arrogant individual. Like when Amy and I arrived here, so Amy grew up Presbyterian, PCUSA, and I didn't. It's a kind of a mutt faith. And so we came in and I was like, all right, fine. This wasn't my jam. It was just very much like mainline denomination. I was like, I'm not feeling it. And but the whole church embraced me and my awkwardness, and there was always a niche for me to sort of figure it out. And so Shepard, over the years, as it has evolved, and as the faces have changed and come and gone, and some of them are steady and some no longer with us, it's been a evolving place where I've consistently felt welcome. And I think it's the weirdest part about like home. Like, I think about it, like when I went back, growing up, I didn't have a real steady home life. And so houses changed, rooms changed, stuff that I had in possessions constantly changed. And so it never really felt like I had a spot. And so Shepard's part of my journey in the sense that I've always had a spot here, whether or not I was lined up with everything that was going on. Like I always had a spot. It was sort of like we were sitting around the family table having a conversation, and it was like, oh, things you don't talk about at the dinner table, politics and religion. We talk about politics and religion, and that's awesome. And so it was like a place to be able to do that. So I felt really at home. And so that's what Shepard's probably been for me, has been this real kind of homebound place. Yeah.
What would you want others to know about being a part of a community of faith?
Oh my gosh. It is an awful, beautiful life. That's probably the best way I can put it. Be prepared to, out of the mouth of babes, be prepared to like learn stuff from people that are just like walking in, and you go, well, like you're new to the faith, you're new to this, and it's like all of a sudden somebody coming in, and it's sort of this weird thing. Like we talk about like equity and what equity looks like, and like opening up the table and like inviting people in. And so it's being this community of faith is not just bringing people to the end of a table, like you have this big table, hey, we got a spot on the end, come to it. Like actually bringing them into the middle of the table to where like they can consume the value that you bring to their lives, and vice versa, that everybody at the table can see what they're bringing and go, wow, that's amazing. And so when I talked about like a family of faith, it really is this interesting thing where it's like we're constantly adding seats to the table, but we're adding them in the middle. And so it's done really well. And so I think about when I first came here, like I was added to the middle. Like it was, where do you want to plug in? How do you want to be involved? And 12 years later, I have a home, like a church family that I'm so close with and I'm so appreciative of.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming and answering our questions.
Oh, you're welcome. And bye, everyone.